Howdy folks, welcome back to Deconstructing the Game. This is Ryan, I'll be your host today for this one. Now, even with all the videos we've done, there's one area that has always eluded us, and that is the intro montage area. And the reason is because it only appears during that sequence in the game. And before, we've only been able to use a camera hack to move the view around, and it didn't really meet our standards of exploration, where we like to be able to run around and mess with stuff. Well, that's finally possible due to a new mod, information in the description. But what this mod does is it makes the area spawn in the game at all times, so you can just come over here to where the sequence actually takes place, which is past the BD school location way out here on the southwest corner of the map. So let me just come in for a landing here and let's get to it. Starting with our perspective shot down the street, we can quickly start to see that whether or not there was originally going to be a longer intro, this area was constructed strictly for the purposes of loading this sequence as quickly as possible. There's no collision off of this central area, and as soon as you look down side streets in any direction, everything starts to get low detail, including these cars that are all backed up on this street. These are just low detail models of cars. If we turn around though and look at the area right behind where B starts this sequence, we find probably the most requested area to look at we've had, Mama Wells' house. Now, I still haven't completely given up hope of finding this area within the game somewhere, only about 99.5% of hope, but at least we get to look around in this area, and much like the perspective shot, as soon as you get out of where the camera can see within the sequence, there's no detail or objects, but you still get at least a partial view of what this area is supposed to look like. We get to look around in the area where they're all sitting down to eat, and then if we go up the stairs, we can go and look at Jackie's room a little bit. It's really cool to be able to poke around in Jackie's childhood room and kind of look at his stuff, but I didn't find that much interesting because it kind of feels like a generic room that was only modified a little bit. It was only once I looked at the mirror, actually, that I saw something that really caught my interest. I quickly realized that the two bedrooms were mirror images of each other, which made me curious if they did the mirror effect the way it was done back in the days of the original PlayStation. And sure enough, it is, where I tested this by putting my photo mode model on the other side. And sure enough, that is how all of the mirror scenes were done in the intro, which is cool. Put them up, ugly. The other areas from the intro are also all right near this area for quick teleporting and loading. And most of them are basically just what you see in the montage, but there are a few interesting things I noticed I wanted to talk about. One of those is that the club that V is seen dancing in, Mike had speculated, or mostly fully investigated, that this was the car dealership area upstairs of the club. And that is in fact the case, because when you go through this area, the cars are there and the signs and everything. So we're able to confirm that. Most of these alleyways and areas that you see V taking part in that short chase are just exactly what you see. As soon as you look off to the sides, there's nothing interesting to see. All the doors open into nothing. So these areas were totally created just for those sequences. This garage doesn't really have anything but the room that you see, but it is interesting to note that the cars are fully detailed models that are interactable, and that was the case in the car dealership as well, so it's possible it's just because those are small areas with not much to load. The gun store doesn't have anything interactable or really interesting within it. Misty's Esoterica is the same, and again, there's nothing out of view, but one funny thing about it is that Vix is literally directly under it instead of on the other side of an alley. Vix is basically the same as we see it in game, but there is one really interesting thing I noticed that is there within game, it's just hard to see. In this area in the back where it looks like a garage pull through in Vic's garage, there's actually another door on the other side where the road would have even continued outwards, possibly to a parking garage or something else. And this is actually present within the game, it's just covered up by shelves, so I never really paid attention to it before. V's apartment is again mostly what you see in the game, where there are just some moving boxes and then otherwise it's an empty version of the apartment from the game. The most interesting thing I found about it was that, like Jackie's room, there's an even less detailed, mirrored version of V's apartment on the other side of it for the mirror effect. Now before anybody asks, of course I checked all of the other buildings for hidden little spaces that maybe weren't used in the intro. Sadly, no love. But it was fun to explore, and I recommend you all check out the mod as well and take a look for yourself. Thanks for watching.